It's Sunday, September 22nd here at the West End Gun Club. It's just at 0600. I'm here at the Rimfire part of the facility, here to break in a new build that I put together. If you follow me on Instagram, you might have seen a teaser post that I did. Before I tell you what it is, we'll just go ahead and get set up, and then I'll just show you on video what we're shooting today. But it's a little dark still. The sun hasn't crept out. I forgot to bring a flashlight, or I had one in my vehicle and I took it out for some reason and I left it in the garage. So I'm just using my rear lights to give me some lighting right now. But we're gonna go ahead and set up the targets, set up the bench or whatever, and get all the gear out. It's a little windier than I'd hoped it would be. I thought it was only gonna be under 5, but it's a little breezy this morning, but hopefully it should taper off just a little bit when the sun comes up, because usually that's what happens at the range. It's like a little bit windier early in the morning, and then it just kind of stabilizes, and if it wants to, it'll increase later in the afternoon. But we're supposed to be getting some of the quote-unquote Santa Ana winds. Santa Ana winds are just a common wind flow that we get in California and Southern California, and we get higher winds, and I think we're supposed to be getting those later in the week. Unfortunately, I can't even take the day off this week, so take a day off this week to come to the range, which I would much rather do on a weekday, but we'll make do on Sunday morning since nobody should be at the Rimfire range anyway. So anyway, let's get set up. Since I'm at the Rimfire range, you may have already guessed what this new rifle build is. But the reason why we're out here this morning on a Sunday is to test out this particular new build, which is a Vudoo Gun Works V-22. And it looks very much like my other rifles because I'm using a Masterpiece Arms chassis in flat dark earth. I bought a new Masterpiece Arms chassis for this gun because I'm not gonna just swap back and forth, obviously, with my other rifles. Well, the only other Remington 700 chassis that I have in Masterpiece Arms is on my mousing field. The CZ is a CZ MPA chassis. But anyway, this is it. 20-inch barrel. 20-inch barrel, MTU contour, Masterpiece Arms BA comp chassis, Trigger Tech Diamond, Pro Curve. What else? Anything else? Oh, and the scope is a Colley's K525i with American Rifle Company 34mm rings, 28mm height. And then I'm just using my Atlas bipod with the Really Right Stuff adapter. So obviously, I'm going to have an article on this posted on my blog. Hopefully I'll have that done this week. I will release it by Monday, September 30th. So before the end of the month, I'll have an article on this, at least my preliminary opinions of this. But it took me I ordered it last month, so after about 6 weeks, it only took about 3 weeks to actually lead time to get it shipped out after I phoned in the order. But I was waiting for obviously shipping time and the time it took to get my FFL. And it took me a couple extra days with my FFL because my FFL is not a full-time FFL. He does it on the side, but you know, 10-day wait plus whatever extra few days that he needed, you know, to process, you know, the gun in his books or have the time for me to come to his place to do the paperwork. But no big deal, you know, that's just the way it is. Obviously, if you're very impatient, you'll be a little bit annoyed by the whole concept of having to wait, but it is what it is, California and all that crap. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and clean up my bench a little bit, get some of the stuff out the way, and then we'll hook up the chronograph. And I did it. Oh crap! I need to get the leveling or the to check to make sure the bore clearance is good. I got to get that tool out of the Jeep, but I think I already set it up, and I had to move the LCD display clamp forward of this so I can move the clamp all the way back on the Wiser Precision mount without having to use the actual rail, so I can just use the spigot mount instead. So anyway, I'm gonna clean up the bench a little bit, grab my stuff, and we'll break out the ammo that we're gonna test for this rifle today. And unfortunately, the wind has been peaking up to 6 miles an hour. I have my Kestrel set up over here. turned off on its own auto turn off or auto power. But 6 mile an hour gusts. It's anywhere from 1 to 6. I put up a couple wind indicators. I just used some of this surveyor's tape, and I just tied it on a couple points around here just to get an idea of when I should be taking some shots. But I'll just wait till the lulls and make sure it's like under, hopefully it's under 3 miles an hour, but we'll deal with it. It's 50 yards, so it shouldn't be too much of a big deal, but you know, any little thing will matter when we're trying to test rimfire. And if anything, I do want to get my chronograph data, so today should be a good day for that. So I was being a little stupid. I forgot that I needed to bore sight this thing first and then actually sight things in. I was ready to shoot groups. I'm thinking, wait a minute, I haven't even zeroed the scope yet. So I put up a bigger shoot and seed paster out there, and basically just do your standard bore sight, fix the rifle in a position, look through the bore onto the target or point of impact, and then adjust your scope turrets accordingly. And the Callis is set up, the zero stop is set up in such a manner that all you need to do is actually move the turrets like you normally would, as if you're sighting it in, and then once you're locked into place, then you undo the set screws, dial the zero stops down, and you're done. According to the instructions in all the videos that I saw. So it's a little bit different, quite a bit different than the Vortex L-Tech turrets. But I'm gonna go ahead and just shoot with Center X, because that's what I planned on using as my to start off with, Center X. I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to keep using Center X if this ammo comes out to shoot well, but I guess I will have to if it shoots well. This stuff is a bit more expensive than SK. I think this is roughly $100 a brick, give or take. 20, so that comes out to 20 cents per round. So, maybe. I mean, it's expensive comparatively speaking to other rimfire, but it's still cheaper than centerfire ammo, obviously. Trying to get this box open. So, I'll just use one of these mags. So I got 4 magazines from Voodoo. And the barreled action comes with 1, which is what I bought the barreled action. I didn't buy a complete rifle. Bought a barreled action. It comes with 1 magazine, and I bought 3 additional magazines from Voodoo. But the magazine is what makes the Voodoo 22 what it is, because in order for a repeater 22 to work well, you have to have a good magazine. And so they designed a magazine, and then the action design is, built to use that magazine. A lot of people compare this to a 40X, and actually the Voodoo 22 is sort of rooted from the 40X, because they took 40X, the Remington 40X, which is a single shot, and made repeaters out of them. But when you take a 40X, the 40X is actually a centerfire gun. So it doesn't have all the geometry that you'll need to feed 22 off a magazine correctly. And with a single shot, it doesn't matter. So you just throw the round in, and the feed ramp, you're good to go. But when the repeater, obviously the geometry must be set correctly, this geometry in the action must be designed in conjunction with your magazine. So. Okay, so we're still left of target, but we're in low. Come another mil. As I was saying, I had the trigger tech, I set it slightly below 1 pound, and it's still not detecting the muzzle velocity. Have it set to less than 1 pound. I think I measured it was about 10 ounces, 12 ounces, 10 ounces, which is kind of light. It is really light, but it's actually, it feels good for a single stage. And I think we're on right now. Still need to dial right. 0.2 of a mil might be good, 0.3. So I actually like this trigger tech. I had a trigger tech, or I still have a trigger tech on my Remington 700-308, my 700P. And I have one of the first trigger techs, like the very first design, back before they came out with the different models and the different grades. And I think the trigger techs are great single stages. I mean, I was trying to preach it to a lot of people, and a lot of people didn't think that the trigger tech would be good. And I was a fan of them as far as the single stage is concerned. And so they've caught on quite a bit. Yeah, let's shoot some groups. So we'll go and start with center X. Well, actually, I kind of want to get this magneto speed working. I don't know why it's not detecting. I haven't made any changes to this thing last time I shot. Sensitivity's the highest. I mean, it's in line with the bore. I mean, I can try. Let me finnick with it. Or finnick? That's not even a word. Let me mess around with it a little bit, and then we'll start shooting again. All right. So we got the I got the chronograph figured out. I just moved the bayonet a little bit up, a little bit higher, so it's should be reading. So we'll go ahead and start shooting center X. I'm gonna go center X. I'll start with Lapua ammo. We'll go center X, and then Midas Plus and Exact ammo, which I have quite a few of. And I'll move to the SK. We'll do the 3 tiers of SK, Standard Plus, Rifle Match, Long Range Match, if the wind cooperates, and we'll go from there. But just, I'll mention this in the article that I'm writing, but the reason why I'm going with Lapua first is because Voodoo designed the chamber around Lapua ammo specifically. So the way it seats the round in the gun, the cartridge in the chamber, it's actually seating into the lance just slightly or a little bit. So it's kind of getting that seal. It's kind of like what you would do with centerfire. If you're loading ammo, you would seat to the lance, right? But they designed this chamber. It's a really tight chamber. So Lapua and SK are pretty much the same, right? Lapua owns SK. But at the same time, I want to try center X first, since that is kind of the baseline ammo that everyone's shooting on the Voodoo and pretty much what they're designing their chambers for. And I accidentally moved my windage knob because the parallax knob is actually up top. So I think I just ruined this where this group is centered up, but whatever. So the windage knob is the left side windage knob on the collies, because that's what I selected. And the parallax knob's up top. So I have to get used to that. Otherwise, I might do that in a match where I'll try to adjust my parallax and I'll move my windage instead. And yeah, I moved my windage too much. .21 rounds, 10.9 standard deviation. We got a min of 1066, max 1106, average of 1089 with center X. Go and let it cool down a little bit, which isn't saying much because it's not even hot. We'll try Midas Plus, then Exact. Then we'll move on to the SKs. I don't think I mentioned this earlier, but for those not familiar with the Voodoo 22, the magazines have an AICS style shape. So it'll fit, obviously, in any chassis or stock that accepts AICS mags or any bottom metal. It's one of the cool things about the Voodoo 22 repeater. One, it's a repeater. Two, it uses standard magazine form factor for 700s. So let's shoot some Midas Plus here. Getting a feel for how this action is much different than my CZ in terms of how it feeds off the mag, how it strips it. And I'm going to wait a little bit because the wind just gusted. Oh, and I forgot to reset my magneto speed, so my data right now is going to be incorrect. I'll have to sort this out when I get home. I'm going to shoot this magazine first. The Midas Plus, not shooting all that great. Well. Could be the fact that I'm not concentrating enough. The groups are a little bit larger. Although it is patterning. Well, unfortunately, I can't tell you what my that string of fire was. But we got another mag, so I'm gonna go ahead and just archive that series. This will just be a 10-shot aggregate on this next string, but I'll pull in the last 10 by hand when I open up the CSV file on the magnetospeed. And for those still deciding magnetospeed versus lab radar, I hate how the magnetospeed only has one file, one CSV file, so it keeps opening the same file over and over again. Why they didn't make a single file per series is beyond me. The reason why I'm not a fan of that is because it makes it, I mean, CSV files are small to begin with, but you are risking corruption of a file if you're constantly reading and writing to the same exact file. I don't know how they wrote their code and what kind of lock protection they have on files, and what happens if something were to happen while the file is the file descriptor. I'm going to use some programming terms, but while the file descriptor for that file is still open, if it something happens to the unit, it shuts off. What kind of corruption are you going to have? So it'd be a lot safer if you just had single files per series. So if you open a series and you shut it down, each series maybe have 10 or 20 rounds in a string, and so one series, you don't risk your previous data if something were to happen in that file, right? I don't know. That's just how I would have wrote it. But I don't program much anymore. I mean, I write scripts and stuff, but I don't do enterprise applications. Even though I got my degree in computer science, I just never really got into programming. And I had this, my 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Had my cheek piece dropped all the way down. So that'll help a little bit. So Midas Plus, we're looking at average of 1103, min 1094, 1116 for max, 10-shot aggregate. I anticipate it'll probably be the same if I pull in the other 10 to this string, but let me just write this down real quick. Next string of fire will be with exact, and forgot to mention the Midas Plus, that 10-shot aggregate, average was 1103, but the standard deviation was 8.6, which is pretty good. 11.6 is a little bit higher than you would want for Rimfire, because this is actually a pretty cool morning right now, maybe 65 degrees. Yeah, maybe 65 degrees. So it's pretty cool. On a hot day, that average velocity might go up past close to supersonic. Don't know, but 1075, 1080 is kind of where you want to be at with Rimfire generally, anyway. Because you don't want to cross supersonic, you don't want to go supersonic cross transonic, and that will affect the rounds accuracy. Although long range match, the SK long range match, that has a higher velocity, and that was what it was designed for. So I think they're just trying to crest the limit just below supersonic flight, try to max the velocities to get the distance. All right. So next string of fire will be exact. I'm going to go ahead and archive this string. So string 21 is now going to be exact, which is the most expensive ammo you're going to find for Rimfire, at least that I've seen. It's about 25 a box of 50s. You're talking 50 cents a round, which is pretty pricey. about 50% the cost of, say, Creedmoor, like a box of, well, a little bit more, a little bit cheaper than 50% of the cost of like a box of 20 of Creedmoor. So we're looking at 20 shot aggregate, average of 1076, standard deviation of 12.2, between 1058 and 1100. From what I'm seeing here, the exact is, I don't know, it's a hair better than everything else. Midas Plus is a hair better than Center X, but I might want to shoot another group of Center X simply because I think I did make a couple changes to the way I was holding the bag during the test, but I think they're all about the same, and I don't think exact's going to justify the price here, but I'll show you the target right now. So here we go. This is Center X. I'm throwing one round invariably, like the first round, but this is actually pretty good as far as the group is concerned. So two group Center X, 10 round aggregate, 10 round shots of Midas Plus. This is kind of like a warm up here, but Midas Plus actually shot pretty good as well. And then exact, and then it tightened up here. So I think when it's all said and done, they're about all the same. I mean, if you want to give the edge to maybe Midas Plus here and exact, but I think I can be doable with Center X and save money on that. These two rounds here, this was the first round, that was the second round, first round. I'm positive this was the first round, so the rest of the group just favored top, so could be an ammo issue, not a rifle issue. Anyway, let's go move on to SK. You might have noticed that I have some Pelican cases holding some ammo. These are Pelican 1020 micro cases. They can hold 3 boxes each. I thought it was pretty cool. Well, 3 boxes that I think are the SK or Lapua boxes. I'm not sure if all other Rimfire brands have similar dimensions, but for Lapua SK ammo, it'll hold 3 boxes. But I saw this on Casey Shooter's Instagram like a year ago. I thought that was kind of cool. So I got I've had a couple 1020 cases for holding other things, but I picked up a couple more off Amazon just to hold ammo. Thought it was just pretty nifty. I guess if you're just traveling with just a low amount of rounds just for a match or something, it's a nice way to do it. So it's, weatherproof, or weather resistant rather. So we're gonna go ahead and do Standard Plus, which is the least expensive ammo that I usually use for match type situations or scenarios. If this shoots well, most people are happy, but it may or may not shoot well. My SK is not liking it right now for some reason. I think it prefers rifle match more. But we'll see how the Voodoo takes it. So 20 round aggregate, Standard Plus, 1071 average, 1048 min, 1099 max, 14.2 standard deviation, which is the worst of all the 4 that I've shot so far. So rifle match has been my go-to with the CZ. We'll see how it does with the Voodoo. This is nominally priced. I mean, you can get this stuff for about $65 a brick, I think. That's about normal. So 19 shot aggregate, Standard Plus. It's actually not bad in SD. So 1070 average, SD of 9.7, min 52, max 1084. But the group isn't all that great. So the last group we'll shoot was long range. Sorry, we'll shoot long range match followed by CCI Standard Plus. Forgot to archive the series, so we'll have a 19 shot group with that series 24. 19 shot aggregate, 1104 average, 11.9 SD, but the second group was definitely a lot better than the first. Long range match looks better than the rifle match, better than Standard Plus. So the last set of ammo we're going to shoot today is the CCI Standard Velocity. We reset the string, string 25. And there's some other range noise now because couple guys and their kids are here shooting, which is a good thing. Got to share the sport, so it's good to see the kids out at the range. But we'll see how Standard Velocity shoots. Some guys have actually had pretty good luck with this in the Vudoo 22, apparently. I am curious as to whether or not it does shoot well. My CZ didn't really care for it too much, so we'll see. And I did clean the barrel. Just with a few patches, wet patches of M-Pro 7 to clean out all the lube. And for some reason the flies are starting to come out. So 16 shot aggregate, we got a 1091 average, an SD of 8.4, which is actually really good. But the groups aren't all that great. Well, they're okay. They're definitely about as loose as SK, so comparatively speaking, if you were gonna go shoot economically, SK Standard Plus, I think, and CCI Standard Velocity, SK Standard Plus is probably more expensive, so you could save some money there, and it looks like they did the same. But we'll take a look at the target after this. I can't walk up there right now because there's other people on the line. But I'm going to go shoot some Center X on some steel targets real quick, just to kind of season the barrel a bit, and we'll shoot one more group with Center X. But I'm going to take the magneto speed off. So I'm pretty much done shooting, but before I collect my targets, I just wanted to give a breakdown of everything that's happened so far today. From my testing, it appears Center X is probably the best bet for me in this gun. It shoots better than SK. SK is not shooting all that good, but it's not shooting all that bad. Standard Velocity CCI shot okay for the price. I guess that's a good option if you just want something cheap to shoot steel with. But I'm going to go Center X, and it's unfortunate that SK didn't shoot well because Center X is a little bit harder to get, so it just means I'm going to have to buy it in volume when I order some of this stuff. Other than that, the magazines fed great. The issue that some people have had with the MPA chassis and the Voodoo 22 is the fact that the magazines the bolt doesn't strip the rounds off the magazines very well because of some kind of geometry issue, being that the chassis is a little bit loose on the mag well. But I bought an extra mag latch, or two mag latches, the long action mag latch or mag catch and the adjustable one, as well as this little plastic spacer deal they have for this gap that is behind or above the mag catch. It's supposed to mitigate that sort of magazine rock, but thankfully I didn't have that issue, and so the round stripped fine. But in the event that starts happening in the future, I have a way to mitigate that issue. I'm liking the scope, but I really need to mess around with the left side windage knob, and so next time I'm coming out, I'll probably shoot drills on steel at various targets, and we'll mess around with the windage knob and the parallax, trying to run that on the collis because it's left side windage and the parallax is up top. And you saw this morning that I accidentally moved my windage knob thinking it was the parallax, so it's just something in my head that I got to get used to. Probably a bad thing I bought this, but I wanted to try it out. And collis has got a good reputation, and I figured it's a nice scope to try out since I've never owned one. Maybe I should have got the Nightforce 7-35 since it's only $300 more than this, but hey, I always want to try stuff out, so that's why I got this. What else can I say right now that I'm not going to talk about? I'm going to talk about pretty much everything in an article, but in the article I am mentioning the weight of this gun. It is a heavy gun. It's a 20-inch barrel, but it's an MCU contour, and being a rimfire bore, it's got a lot more steel in it, so because the bore's smaller. If you can guess the weight of this rifle within 0.2 of a pound, in even numbers like 1.0, 1.2, 1.4, I'll give away the winner a sort of gift box full of miscellaneous shooting stuff, like not ammo or anything or parts, but just like patches, some hats, and maybe one hat or a couple hats, patches, stickers, and all that stuff that I have laying around in my drawer. And so I just wanted to give that away. So yeah, just guess within 0.2 of a pound, not ounces, because the scale I use doesn't do ounces, so it's going to be like 2.2 pounds, not 2 pounds 2 ounces. So legitimately in 0.2 of a pound accuracy. So anyway, yeah, giveaway for there. I should have an article and posted by the end of the month, no later than September 30th. Just at least the first part, if I'm going to do multiple parts when we talk about testing of this rifle. But overall, this gun is shooting well. I'm quite happy with it right now. Definitely want to try it at 100, 200, 300, 400 yards. So maybe I'll take the trip to Palmdale sometime in the very near future. Unfortunately, the winds are going to start picking up this time of year, so you just have to find a good day to go. And that's sort of that. So let me just pack up some of this gear, and then I'll bring in my targets so we can also take a look at the targets on video. Just wanted to go ahead and give a quick summary of the targets. So you probably saw all the Lapua already. Standard Plus. So just to be clear, I shot all of these in sequence, and I did clean after between long range match and shooting CCI Standard Velocity. So I didn't clean between each one. So the first string, because I shot 2 strings per ammo type, the first string is usually kind of washed because you're kind of just lubing that barrel with, or seasoning the barrel with the lube on that ammo that you're shooting. So this is a clean bore. So Center X should be equally the same, these two groups. Then I went to Midas Plus, which did tighten up the second group. I went to Exact, which actually shot really well the first group, and it shot the same on the second group. Standard Plus was fairly wide open on the first group, but then tightened up on the second group. Rifle match, pretty much the same between the two groups. Then long range match was a little bit wide open, or wider open on the first string, and then it tightened up a lot on the second string. So this is doable, assuming long range match, assuming it stays within this norm
I think this is acceptable. Then Standard Velocity, the first group, and then the second group. The second group looked a little bit better, and then I shot a group of Center X without cleaning, and I took the magneto speed off at this point. And the magneto speed with that Wiser Precision now is getting this weird vibration post-shot, and that could be affecting the gun in terms of accuracy, in terms of just the post-recoil. But anyway, Center X, and that shot well. So I think I'm gonna stick with Center X in general. I just think this is a better, it seems like it's shooting pretty tight. Long range matches seems pretty good. Rifle match might be doable. I don't know. I might play around with rifle match a little bit more, but I'm thinking I'm gonna stick with Center X. Exact looks pretty good, but if Center X can hold this, then Exact is just a waste of money. Well, I don't even think I can afford to shoot Exact at 25 bucks a box of 50. So anyway, that's kind of it for the groups. But I'll include this photo of this target in my article that I'm writing. Completed my shooting for today. I packed up all my gear. I'm about to head out. Today was a good day. The wind actually died down, so I'm better to shoot now. But it's actually pretty decent. Wind's barely 2-3 miles an hour. But I think the wind this morning didn't really affect the shooting. So other than that, I think I have valid groups. I should come out to shoot 100 yards. I want to do that on a weekday on the 100-yard line, on the main line when it's not packed. And I'm going to do some testing at 100 yards with all the ammo. But right now I got good idea of where I'm at with 50 yards on all this ammo, and it looks like Center X is what I'm going to roll with. So I'm going to start exploring initially and start exploring my options as far as how much my cost per round is going to be and how much I want to buy this stuff and where to get it from on a consistent basis. But yeah, that's all I can say right now. I'm going to have the article, like I mentioned earlier, published before the end of the month, and I should have a full breakdown of everything on the build, why I chose what part, and you know, just rimfire in general and my feelings about the Voodoo 22 versus, say, the CZ. And yeah, just a reminder, as I said earlier, I'm going to do a giveaway. So just if you can guess the weight of this rifle within 0.2 of a pound, I'll give away a free like gift box full of like patches, stickers, and a hat or two. Oh, just so you know, this actually, sorry, I should have mentioned that this ends. You have to guess it before I release the blog article. So act fast. Just comment on this YouTube. Just comment on the YouTube video, on this vlog video, just what your answer is before the article is released, because in the article I specifically say how much this rifle weighs. So that's just one caveat. 18 years or older, be in the United States, so I can send it to you via U.S. Postal Service priority mail. Anyway, that's it for today. Today is Sunday, September 22nd, here at the West End Gun Club. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next vlog. And pay attention to my website when I publish the article on the Voodoo 22.